Good morning. Just having an early breakfast. I realized when I don't eat early, I don't eat enough protein, so plain bagel with cream cheese and 2 scrambled eggs with salt and pepper. So look what I caught coming through. I'm pretty excited. This is the one that grew before it when I first got the plant. I knew I heard a noise. They make noises, and I came over here and it was lower than that, so I was not super hungry tonight. So some toast, turkey sausage, eggs, and some arugula, cranberries, balsamic vinaigrette, and pecans. What the hell? No, take that small piece. Yeah, eat it. Some black cake and tea. Ooh, y'all must think I don't work out. I just show my weights. Think whatever, but I cannot get up. I did a plyometrics workout, so see, I look crazy. You gotta be fit if you are a doula, because I mean, some clients are less hands-on than others. It all depends in the moment and like preferences and all that. But just being around, like my longest birth, like on my feet, didn't take a break, was 18 hours from start to finish. I learned my lesson. That's not for me. I'm almost 40. So I like to join later during active labor. Plus they got a partner who can help with the hands-on portion. And then when things get really spicy, that's when I like to be there to give the partner a break. Sometimes I need a break, but longest labor for me consecutively is 18 hours. The longest I've had a client in labor was 36 hours. And the fastest I've had a client in labor was 2.5, 3 hours, I'll say, from early labor to like baby delivered. And placenta. Her placenta came right out. So either way, you got to be fit, because you either got to be ready for a marathon or you got to be ready for a sprint, you know? So okay, so this is the belly band that I ended up making. The client told me that they loved purple, so I got the fabric and I made it today. Yeah, and this one is about 16 yards, so I feel like it's more than enough for them as soon as I teach them. So yeah, I make them come to your home and I teach you how to do it, and then I watch you do it a couple times, and then your partner does it too. So So I got the good news. I passed the Body Ready Method capstone. So the next thing that I have is the quiz, which is open book. It's probably going to take me like an hour and a half. And I've got a couple of weeks to take it, but I am going to wait till I have this one birth done to take like a weekend and like go somewhere by myself and order in like room service and hang out in the hot tub and then go and take the online quiz. So I should be certified here in probably by April, I think. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped. Hello everyone. So I was out eating this past couple of weeks, like eating out, and I started thinking about how much we've lost, how many generations of postpartum wisdom that has been quietly like phased out, and it's been replaced by this bounce back, snap back culture. She'll be fine. By just pushing through and figuring it out alone. And I don't know about you, but that bothers me because I've sat with enough women in these early postpartum weeks, days and weeks, and I know that fine is not the same as being supported. And pushing through is not the same as healing and recovering. So today I wanted to bring some of that wisdom back. The practices that our grandmothers knew, the midwives across all these different cultures that have passed down for centuries. I feel like as a birth worker, I and the birth working community have a responsibility to put back in our clients' hands, to put that back, give that back to our clients before the baby shows up and not after. Like everyone is really hooked on prepping for birth. And I feel like very often are people thinking about the postpartum prep. And what I'm talking about specifically, some things I'm passionate about are like Ayurvedic belly binding, placenta encapsulation, herbal baths, sitz baths, yoni steams, foot soaks. These things have been around longer than any of us. And they're backed by tradition, cultural wisdom, anecdotes, and the experience of the women that we like birth workers are serving and supporting. So, and if you're a doula or a childbirth educator or a birth worker at all, and you're kind of watching this, like, just stick with me, because by the end of this little recording, I want you to walk away with language that you can use and info that you could share, and just have the confidence to like have this conversation at your next prenatal visit. So just something to think about. So before we get into like I want to say the main three: placenta encapsulation, belly binding, and like herbal baths. Before we get into those, I want to lay down the foundation, because everything I'm about to share sits within the same philosophy. And that philosophy is that postpartum recovery is not passive. It's not accidental, and it doesn't just happen because the time, 42 days, 6 weeks has passed. In my childbirth education classes, I talk about this fourth trimester. And what I want my students, and I want anyone who's watching this, you to realize and internalize, is that birth is one of the most physically demanding events a human body will ever go through. And that tops the Olympics. I know it's Olympic season. We would never expect an athlete to compete at that level and just go home and figure out recovery on their own. Like, you are seeing the Olympics now, if you're watching it, you're seeing all these coaches, you're seeing these massage therapists, you're seeing the nutritionists, like all these people are there. But that's not what we do, right? Like, we do the exact opposite with postpartum women, like on a daily basis. And every culture that has gotten this right, and there are many, understood that the weeks after birth require intentional, active, and supported recovery. And it's not just survival mode, right? And the three practices that I'm going to talk about today are not trends. They're not alternative or fringe. They are ancestral, and they're time tested, and they work. Okay, so let's start with belly binding. And if this is something you already offer your clients, I want you to think about how you're framing it, because the framing matters just as much as the practice itself. Belly binding has roots in cultures all over the world. In Latin communities, it's called the faja. In Malaysia, the bengkung wrap, which is what I do, has been used for centuries. In West African traditions, in South Asian traditions, and Indonesian traditions, they all have a version of this, which tells us something. When that many different cultures, completely independent of each other, land on the same postpartum practice, that is not a coincidence, that's wisdom. So what is actually happening physically when we bind the belly postpartum, and if we do it correctly? I feel like belly binding is kind of limited. It's more like core binding. It's from like the pubic bone up to like the bottom ribs. But first of all, the uterus. So after someone gives birth, the uterus begins contracting back to its pre-pregnancy size, like immediately. It's a process called involution. Belly binding supports that process. It provides gentle, consistent compression, and that's what's helping the uterus contract more efficiently and helps the abdominal muscles that spent 9 months being stretched to begin to find their way back together. Secondly, the core. So pregnancy shifts everything: your lungs, your colon, your pain, your heart even. Your center of gravity has changed, and the abdominal wall separates, a condition known as diastasis recti that affects a significant number of postpartum women. And then your pelvic floor has been under enormous pressure. Binding provides external support while all of that internal work is happening and coming back together. It's not doing the work for the body. It's just holding space for the body to do that work, for things to find their place again. And third, and this is the one I really want you to sit with, there is an emotional dimension to belly binding that we don't talk about, I won't say at all. Think about what just happened, right? Like, this person grew a human being, their body expanded in ways that felt completely outside of their control, some would argue unnatural. And now that baby is on the outside, and suddenly there's this feeling of like openness or even emptiness, very loose. You kind of feel vulnerable. Binding is basically saying to a new postpartum person, I see you, I've got you, you are held. And that's not a small thing. This is very powerful postpartum care, and it's very minimal. Now, practically speaking, as birth workers, our job is to introduce this prenatally. So don't wait until your client is 3 days postpartum and overwhelmed. Talk about it at a prenatal visit. Help them understand their options. Traditional cloth binding, Bangkok wraps, Ayurvedic wraps, modern postpartum binders, each of them have their own place. And the right choice is going to depend on your client's birth experience, so C-section or vaginal, their comfort level, and their cultural background. If you're trained in Bangkok wrapping, offer it as a postpartum service. If you're not, know who in your community is and make that referral, right? Community is greater than competition. That is good doula work. Okay, so now let's talk about placenta encapsulation. And I want to start here by acknowledging something. There are clients who come to us already curious about this, maybe even excited about it, but they're almost embarrassed to bring it up. Like they're waiting to see if we're going to make it weird. Don't make it weird. Our job is to create the space where no question is too strange, no practice is too unfamiliar, and our clients feel safe exploring what's right for them. So if placenta encapsulation hasn't been a regular part of your prenatal conversations, I want you to start bringing it up yourself. Normalize it by talking about it normally. So what is it? After birth, the placenta, which has spent the entire pregnancy functioning as its own organ, producing hormones, filtering nutrients, sustaining life, is typically discarded. Placenta encapsulation is the process of having the placenta cleaned, steamed, dehydrated, grounded, and placed into capsules that the postpartum person can then take like a supplement in those early weeks. Now, I want to be clear and honest with you because that's how we're going to build trust with our clients and with each other. The research on placenta encapsulation is still developing. We don't have like these large scale ethical trials that definitely prove every benefit that's been claimed. But what we do have is a growing body of anecdotal evidence, right? And that's how research starts, right? It starts with anecdotal evidence, some promising smaller studies, and centuries of traditional use in certain cultures, particularly in traditional Chinese medicine, where postpartum conception of the placenta has been practiced for a very long time. When you're a mom, entrepreneur, right, like you just get interrupted. So, okay, so I'll pick up where I left off about the placenta encapsulation. I'll tell you what a lot of clients report. They talk about improved mood in those first early weeks. They have more sustained energy, almost like they were having like caffeine. They have a sense of faster physical recovery. Some even report a smoother milk supply transition. Are these outcomes guaranteed? No. Is the placenta a magic cure? No. But for many clients, it is one meaningful piece of a broader postpartum healing plan. And that is how we should be presenting it. Your role as a doula is to inform and open the door and to connect. And if you are trained and certified in placenta encapsulation, amazing, wonderful. Offer it as a service. If you're not, build a relationship with somebody in your community, another doula, another birth worker who is, and refer them with confidence. Either way, make sure your clients know that this option exists and that there's no shame in exploring it. And the reason I say bring it up prenatal, because that is going to be built into their birth plan, right? So when they're in the hospital and they give birth, the doctors, the nurses might say, oh, are you doing anything with your placenta? That shouldn't be the time where you're like, oh yeah, I want to keep it. Like you already hopefully know that, and that is planned out. timing matters, okay? Like I said, this is a prenatal conversation. So get ahead of it, because by the time they're in labor, it's too late. Ask about it early and help them make an informed decision with the time and space to do so. Okay, sorry, keep getting interrupted. So now let's talk about something that I think is generally one of the most underutilized tools in postpartum recovery. And it's also one of the most accessible, right? So perhaps your client can't really afford, the encapsulation process because that is pretty expensive. But the herbal baths and sitz baths they're pretty accessible. So whether your client has had a vaginal birth or a cesarean, whether they had tearing or not, whether they're breastfeeding or not, an herbal bath is something almost every postpartum person can benefit from. And so many clients still go home with no idea that this is even an option. Let's talk about what's actually happening in the body that makes this so valuable. So after vaginal birth, your perineum has been under significant stress. There may have been tearing, there may be swelling, and just overall general inflammation and soreness in an area that is not exactly convenient to take care for. So a sitz bath, which is a shallow, warm bath, not hot, and it covers just up to the hips in the perineal area, allows for healing herbs to make direct contact with the tissue that needs support. So for cesarean clients, a full herbal bath can support overall healing and reduce inflammation and provide that same sense of intentional self-care. Remember, you want your clients' providers to bless off on a bath because they have to heal before they're submerged so that they don't get an infection. And we'll talk about the herbs themselves because this is where it gets really interesting and where you can really empower your clients with specific knowledge. So definitely, if you're not an herbologist or you're not comfortable with herbs, consult with one. But there are herbologists who make different postpartum or sitz bath herb concoctions and sell them as well at, local apothecaries or on Etsy. There's a ton. But I do want to mention lavender, and this is probably the most familiar. It's antimicrobial, it's calming, it supports the tissue healing, and it smells amazing. Comfrey is another one, and it's remarkable for its ability to accelerate cell regeneration. It's been used for wound healing for centuries, and it's particularly supportive for perineal tears. Witch hazel, most people know, and this is a powerful astringent that reduces swelling, and it soothes hemorrhoids, which are extremely common and very uncomfortable postpartum. And nobody talks about that one enough. There's also yarrow, and this helps support blood flow regulation, and it's historically been used to support postpartum recovery. And then calendula is another favorite of mine. This is gentle, anti-inflammatory, and incredibly soothing to different irritated tissue. It's wonderful for clients who have sensitive skin. You can find herbal bath blends that are specifically formulated for postpartum use. Like I mentioned, work with an herbologist in your community to create custom blends for your clients. Either way, here's my practical recommendation for you as a birth worker. Encourage your clients to prepare herbal bath kits before birth. Have them ready, stocked, on the shelf. Because in those first few days of postpartum, the last thing that a new parent needs is to be figuring out where to order something from. If it's already in the house, they'll use it. It's right there. And here's something else I want you to hold on to. Beyond the physical benefits, there is a ritual quality to an herbal bath that matters. In a season where there's a new parent and they're giving their all, every ounce of energy, every moment of attention, every drop of milk, right, to another person, another being, an herbal bath is 10 or 15 minutes that belong entirely to them. It's a moment of being intentional about their own healing. And that's not being indulgent. That is absolutely necessary. And we, doulas, get to be the ones who give them permission to take that. So let's bring this all the way back together. Belly binding, placenta encapsulation, and herbal baths. 3 practices, 1 philosophy. Postpartum recovery is not passive, it's not accidental, it requires intention. And it requires someone in that birthing person's corner who knows these tools exist and isn't afraid to talk about them. That's you, that's me, that's us. This is exactly the kind of thing I cover in my childbirth education classes because I believe that the more informed our clients are before birth, the better equipped they're going to be to actually recover after it. And the more confident we are as birth workers in recommending these different practices, the more lives we're going to change. Now, this is part one of a two-part conversation. In a couple weeks or maybe next week, whenever I feel like dropping the next video, I want to talk about postpartum nutrition specifically. I was inspired by another doula she had a workshop, but I like to call it wet, warm, and protein, and how to help your clients build a nourishment plan that actually supports everything we talked about today. So make sure you're subscribed and you don't miss that one. And in the meantime, which of these three practices are you already using with your clients? Which one do you want to learn more about? Drop in the comments, please. I read everything. Like, subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, I'm heading out. Gonna do a placenta this morning, so see what I can capture. Wow. I think it came out pretty nice. I just asked the client what their color preferences are, and I just kind of do my own thing. Hopefully my signature placenta print hopefully my placenta prints develop a signature look. So I don't know, I might take some art classes to get some creative ideas going. But that's it. It's my 11th one. Hello, morning. Last week was crazy. I just had a lot of appointments. This week I just have one postpartum, one prenatal. And I'm on call for birth. So yeah. But I just drove up the mountain to do a day postpartum visit, and some people are like, oh, I didn't even know there were postpartum doulas. There are everything doulas for every transition of life. And so postpartum, you're a new parent and getting adjusted to it is not easy. And I really, really encourage people to get a postpartum doula, especially if you're going to make the investment for someone to help you bring life into this world. You should look at making the investment to help someone, or so that you can get help to transition into parenthood, because those first couple of months can be shocking. So anyway, what do I do during a day shift? It depends really on what the mom needs that day or what the parents need that day. But generally speaking, I like to really focus on anything that helps mom heal. So if that's prepping a snack, making breakfast, making lunch, helping tidy up, helping with folding baby's laundry. You're not deep cleaning, right? You're not a housekeeper or a house manager, but if you notice the living room is a little bit chaotic, just a little bit of tidying will help. From a mom-centric perspective, I really love to do a belly binding session. I love to do a foot soak. And if there's 6 weeks postpartum, you can do that postpartum herbal bath for them, set a bath for them if they have a tub. But if they don't, honestly, like a foot soak is just kind of a little magical thing you can do. So I like to mix it up just to show them every day. Like, here are some little micro self-care things that you can do when I'm not here. So my day shifts are about 4 hours long. If they live closer to me, I can do 5 hours, but I do support a lot of rural clients or clients that live very far up in the mountain, and so those take me a while to get to. So I usually do like 4 hours. If I get there early, that's great. So 4 to 5 hours, and we can talk a little bit more about that, what that can look like. So I just wanted to share this before I head out for the day. Alrighty.